Today we are back at the track. We're at Grattan Raceway with the ND1 Miata, and we are gonna do an open track day here with Trackalicious. Really good group here in the area. This is kind of an open passing format. So point by to pass, but no run groups. Let's head out and see how it feels here at Grattan Raceway. I made a couple of changes to the brakes versus our last track day at Gingerman, where we had some braking issues. We're now running a set of G-LOC R16 pads in the front and R12s in the rear. I had a box full of pads when I first bought this car, and I think I was maybe running R12s in the front and R16s in the rear. I don't know. We're figuring it all out as we get to know this car a little bit better, but something was wonky, and also the front rotors were pretty heavily grooved, so I wasn't really getting a smooth contact area with the pad. I replaced the front rotors with a set of just local parts store cheap blanks, and after the first session everything feels really good. I've got a nice bedded layer on there, and these G-LOCs seem to really like a nice transfer layer to operate properly, especially at temp. So we've got all the mods in the description. If you haven't seen any Miata videos thus far, you'll know that this is a pretty well track prepped car, and I was pretty surprised to see that it had braking issues when I first got into it at Gingerman. Grattan is a little bit less brake heavy of a track, and today it's a little bit cooler out. It is 66 degrees Fahrenheit, so we should have much more heat friendly temperatures at today's event. All right, traction off, brain on. Checking for traffic on the blend line here. This is an open passing format, so we've got point by to pass. Past us, we could do our first lap here. There we go. Got our right-hand drive Miata. Getting to know the car, get to know the hardware, get to know the track today. We're on the Bridgestone RE7 RZs. Feeling stickier than usual out here. This pavement is super slick. It's basically just kind of an understeer fest through these S's. Miata feels pretty good on the back section. brakes. Brakes are holding up nicely. Using all the track. There's the yump. They smoothed that out a little bit. Alright, we'll let this M3 by. He's got some power. Last time I was out here was in the S2000, and that was a good time. It is chilly today. Still not loving the brakes on this Miata. Don't have a ton of bite. That's okay, we'll let this M3 get ahead of us once we get on a straight. It's flat out just about everywhere. This Mustang for most of a lap. That compression is so brutal there. Do I have to lift? Barely. Nice. Dark Horse sounds fantastic. Getting a little bit of brake fade. With the higher powered cars on the handling sections. There we go, brakes are back. Straight. Fastest lap is a 1:32. Okay. Yeah, overall just pretty heavily underwhelmed with the brakes in this Miata on track. From the Camaro and Type R, where you could pretty much just stand on things non-stop, and it was phenomenal. Alright. We can really chuck it into these corners though. They come back pretty quickly. feeling super fast. Didn't even need the brakes there. This thing through the S's, so that's exciting. Alright, we're gonna do a little cool down lap here. And we will let the car cool off a bit. I think ultimately need a bigger front brake package for this Miata. All right, we've taken the top off. We've done a good proper track bed in. How's the Miata after some time sitting in the paddock cooling off? Well, the brakes still suck. Maybe it's because the rotors are too small. Maybe it's because the pads are lower on life. But I just don't think there's the thermal capacity here with this size rotor on this car. So my advice would be skip the Brembo brakes if you're gonna be tracking your Miata, and hopefully we'll get a chance to try out a bigger brake kit on this car. The mechanical grip from these RE71RZs is just awesome. They break away progressively. Grattan has some weird surfaces through the corners, so it just sounds like everything is understeering, but this car actually has the most grip out here of just about everything, except for a Evora on slicks. Nothing else is really pulling away from me through these S's. So the traction is amazing. There isn't a lot of power here. Oh, and speaking of, here comes the Evora. The advantage to these slippery surfaces through these apexes is Grattan's pretty minimal on tire wear, so that's nice. That's a beautiful car. I think there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done to this car. We will put some fresh pads on the rear, and maybe get some bigger brakes for the front and go from there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.